Tonight on the Black Channel. They only care about black women when it's convenient. The people who do the most talking about black women are the ones who do the least talking about black women. The Black Channel is live. Unapologetic, unadulterated, and absolutely uncompromising. Greetings, brothers and sisters from around the world, and welcome back to the home, the haven, the stronghold, and the everlasting superfortress of intelligent black thought. We are the Black Media, and this is the Black Channel. And I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the voice of Black America, the Black Authority, broadcasting to you live from the only historically black college and university of higher education and learning in the cosmos. You are, of course, welcome to join us. And join us you shall, because on tonight's program here, as there is so much that is going on, and there is so much that is happening, it can become very, very easy to forget about some of the basic things, certainly some of the things happening at the grassroots level or on the ground. And I want to take a moment to just revisit a few things because, of course, as always, there is unfinished business, and that business is not going to get better on its own. I posted about this couple days ago here because it is important that we remember that with the progress that has been made, there's unfinished business still. Breonna Taylor's killers still walk the streets. While it took much work to be able to convict Ahmaud Arbery's killers, Breonna Taylor's still walk the streets. And not only that, but you're noticing as the juries are going back the other way in this case, they're trying to find a algorithm, a way to make it back to the paperwork process there was previously. They're trying to make it back to the paperwork process there was previously. You'll all remember that this was something personal where I was involved at great personal expense to myself in the middle of the events. I was there and I was calling for justice for Breonna Taylor, who has still not received it yet, as they are reminding you that you still exist in a system of white supremacy. They're still making sure to remind you of that. And unfortunately for most black folk, it has to remain that way because so many people wish to forget. They want to forget. They want to go back to sleep. They want to go back to what they were doing. They don't want to acknowledge the threat at the door that has never diminished. They don't want to do that. And I'd like to tell you that that was where it was confined, but that is not where it's confined. It's not confined to that at all. Not at all. And it's necessary for us to remember who is giving lip service and who is giving real service. This happened on March 3rd, but you wouldn't know, and you wouldn't know about it if you were to go to the people who claim to you that they're on the front lines of these things, the people who claim to you that they have the best interest at heart, those of us who've actually put in the work. This is an affront and an insult to us. It is an affront and an insult. You shouldn't be surprised that Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the quintessential example of black when convenient, which is why we did not allow her to claim it at all, because you cannot be black when convenient. You're either all the way in or you are all the way out, and she is all the way out. But of course, we want to make sure that we remember this. She is hard at work pushing through her zaddy's agenda. And it shouldn't be any shock to anyone that, of course, she can't wait to talk about fellow suspected bedwench for the bench, Biden's nominee, Ketanji Jackson, and of course Kamala Harris. She and her have a lot in common, so of course she's been stomping hard. Then you go to March 3rd. March 3rd, Brett Hankinson is being acquitted, but March 3rd, Kamala Harris is so concerned about black women. She's so concerned about them. She's so concerned about them that she wants to let you all know that the most important thing is protecting LGBT. Most important thing, stepping over the grave of Breonna Taylor. While we were sounding the alarms, she's stepping over the grave. It didn't register on her radar. Not at all. It hasn't registered on her radar since. It's a non-issue. But then again, that shouldn't be surprising because at his State of the Union address, her zaddy, Joe Biden, said we don't need to defund the police. We need to reinforce the police. We need to fully fund the police. We need to fund the police more. He just let you know exactly what it is. All you Biden butt kissers, you are all officially branded traitors to black society. You are traitors to black people. You caused this to happen. You supported this. You told the world that this was better than Donald Trump. We told you the whole time, no, it wasn't. And you all with your silly, brain-dead, addle-minded stupidity and stubbornness. These deaths are on your hands. Of course, she wants to tell you that we need to pass the Freedom to Vote Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, neither of which helps black people in any way, which is, of course, why she wants it. That's, of course, why she's supporting it, because it does nothing for black people. By the way, take a look at the likes ratio between the Equality Act for LGBTQs plus minus zeros, exclamation points. Take a look at the likes ratio for that. Take a look at the likes ratio, the comments ratio, the retweet ratio. It's easily 2-to-1. You take a look at that. Bots, I don't know. But certainly, it's very, very clear somebody's got an agenda. Twitter is not a real place. It's not a real place, but it does let you know where the folks with an agenda lie and how they get down. It does give you an insight into that. While we were talking about Breonna Taylor, Kamala Harris said there are more important things for her to focus on. Trying to get reelected, her futile attempt to get to the White House herself. That's what she was concerned about. Sock puppets. Sock puppets clapping for Zaddy. Jimbo Jangles Clyburn. And all the other shills. Stepping over the grave of Breonna Taylor, you're a non-issue. You're a non-issue, except here in real black society, except here in the black media. And that is it. Shouldn't surprise you at all. They didn't allow anything to get in the way. Women's History Month. Breonna Taylor is history, just not in a good way. But of course, that didn't bother Kamala Harris. Zaddy said, get up and dance. And so they got up and danced. And they want the rest of us to go along with it. They want the rest of us to do the same, and we won't. I'd like to tell you that the nonsense was limited to Kamala Harris. I would like to tell you that, but that would be wrong. In other corners of the pathetic, putrid Twitterverse, you have individuals. Jamila Screw You. This woman here would have you believe that she is so concerned about black women. She would have you believe that. She would have you believe that. If you listen to her, she would have you believe that. Unfortunately for her, you take a look at what she's focused on over and over and over and over again. Attacking black men. She has a sickness. She has a disease. Attacking black men is the only thing that she's concerned about. While we were talking about Breonna Taylor and her killers walking the streets, while we never forgot Breonna Taylor, we never forgot her. March 3rd, Jamila Lemieux, concerned about, damn me, everything else except black women. Everything else except. This is a sickness and a disease. Maybe you can go and talk to some of your so-called professional black news people here. Joy Read the Room, talking about everything that Zaddy is said to talk about over and over again. This woman posts something damn near every hour on the hour. All over the place. Whatever she is told to. Practically every hour on the hour. Talking about Brittany Griner. She talked about Brittany Griner. Somebody LGBT in the WNBA. Talking about Brittany Griner. But you have to wonder whether or not Breonna Taylor is going to get mentioned. Can I spare you all that, by the way? Or would you like to go down there because it's going to take a while to get there because she posts so much about everything else. She's posted several times about Brittany Griner, over and over and over again about Brittany Griner. Over and over and over again about Brittany Griner. You think that Breonna Taylor was able to penetrate that concrete skull of Joy Reid's? Think it was able to get through? You think it was able to happen? A few choice words for Tucker Carlson. March 3rd, Breonna Taylor's killers. And by the way, it wasn't even for Breonna Taylor, for those of you who didn't know. By the way, it wasn't even for that. This was actually for reckless endangerment because the bullets penetrated the bullets they were shooting at Breonna Taylor when they were shooting her to death. Some of the bullets went through to somebody else's apartment, so you couldn't be convicted for killing her. You couldn't even be convicted for endangering anybody else. The bullets that they shot and riddled her with. For those of you who don't know or have forgotten, Breonna Taylor was gunned down, naked. She was completely naked when they shot her dead. For those of you who didn't know that, and I covered that at the time, and Lamar billboards would not let me put that on the billboard, by the way. I tried. Lamar wouldn't let me state the obvious on that billboard that, by the way, Breonna Taylor shot, gunned down 8 times, shot dead, naked in her apartment. I wonder if that's an affront to black womanhood, to the folks who try to separate black men and black women into gender camps, by the way, and they're sitting here quiet. They never told you all that. They don't say that. We repeat that here all the time at the headquarters of the new black media. But they say nothing. But for those of you who did not know, Breonna Taylor was naked in that apartment. Shades of Fred Hampton. Shades of Fred Hampton. They gunned her down. And for those of you who did not know, she was 100% from head to toe completely naked when they riddled her with bullets. Then you will have some world-class scum-sucking piece of filth sit up here and attempt to tell you about who cares and who doesn't. We were not quiet about that. She was worried about the Ukraine. I'm talking about what's happening right here in America. She's worried about Zaddy's priorities. Going on and on and on about the Ukraine, and what about the hell's happening right here? They're not zots. They're not bots that are active, Joy. You live in a fantasy world where you think everybody is on the same page as you and Zaddy. She is absolutely shocked to find out everybody's not on the same page as her and Zaddy. She's shocked to find out. You can keep going if you want to. You can keep going. She's got tons and tons to say about Vladimir Putin and about the Ukraine. On March 3rd, she's going on and on and on and on about the Ukraine. On and on! Breonna Taylor vanished from view. Not a word about that. Taking your Democrat Party's talking points. Ron DeSantis, absolutely an unqualified villain, for certain. By the way, couldn't help but notice the only people who have been keeping tabs on what was happening with Breonna Taylor and others, the only ones keeping tabs on that, we're the only ones. That was it. Yeah, Joy, this gif is so apropos. It really, really is. This is you. When it comes to black women, this is you. It sure is. Of course, she's concerned about LGBT. Of course. Absolutely. Gotta be concerned about that. Who cares about black women unless there's an angle where you can try to twist it and turn it into something to try to attack black men. Of course, she's totally unconcerned about that. But yeah, there you go. All day long on March 3rd. All day long. All day long. All day. Ukraine. Zaddy's agenda. All day long. We were the only ones who said anything at all because we're the only ones still watching. The name Breonna Taylor is a dog whistle to the black media. It's a dog whistle. When we hear it, our ears immediately shoot up. That's when you find out who the hell cares. Zaddy's agenda dominates the timeline. For Joy Reid, black people are political puppets and political pawns to be used for Zaddy's agenda. Take a look at this, the same damn video of Tucker the Sucker Carlson over and over again, but yet not really concerned. By the way, you take a look at this. She's not talking about Breonna Taylor, but she did have time to say this. To retweet someone else, I sincerely hope the beautiful and inspiring outpouring of support for the Ukrainian people we are seeing today will later translate into people showing the same compassion and support for black and brown refugees fleeing war zones. So she found this is a way to shoehorn in the immigrant agenda. And Joy, of course, yeah, she couldn't talk about Breonna Taylor, but the immigrant agenda is front and center on deck. Oh, what do you know? March 2nd. Yeah, you go all the way through March 3rd. Not a word, not a thought, not a care, not a concern, not a single one. And if it weren't for us, there still wouldn't be anything said now if it wasn't for us. I want you all to understand something. Maybe I can be a difficult person to deal with. Maybe I can be abrasive. Maybe I can be quote unquote harsh, whatever in the hell you mean by that. Maybe I can be a bit brutish at times. But I am no less so when it comes to remembering my people and what's important. I am no less so in that regard. And I made it a point then that going forward, I made it a point then that you understand that you are a special type of sucker and you are a particular type of evil and wretched when you try to make distinctions between black men and black women. You are a particular type of evil when you attempt to make that distinction. You're a particular type of sick. I bought billboards in Louisville because I wanted people to understand. I bought billboards there because I wanted people to understand what was important. And what was important was that it be very, very clear that those billboards said that black men are here for justice for Breonna Taylor. It was very important to say that. And of course, that hit so hard that it got the attention of no less than Oprah Winfrey, who tried to ride in and overshadow what I had done. And understand, I don't have 1/100th of the resources that she does. Not 1/100th of the resources. But I did what I could. I did what I could, and now nobody can say what black men did not do for Breonna Taylor. But I can damn sure sit here and tell you what these other folk haven't done. I want to know where the Biden butt kissers are today. I want to know where you gutless, shameless bastards are now. You spent all this time telling us that this was the right way to go, and we spent all this time telling you that you were wrong. I want to find out where you are tonight. I want to find out where you are tonight, because we're the only ones, quote unquote, saying her name. You see, all the phony ass people who want to sit up here and showboat and exploit. We're not here for exploitation. You know why? Because we were here beating this drum before Breonna Taylor. We do it every single week and every single day. We were here before the masses took to the streets. We were here when the masses took to the streets. We were here after the masses left the streets. And we will be here when the masses return to the streets. But we're the constant. You don't have to tell us to say her name. We're the only ones saying her name. While all the fakers, frauds, and imposters out there have forgotten her because there's no more mileage to be gotten out of it. Let's be very, very clear. There's no more mileage to be gotten out of saying Breonna Taylor's name. So all the fakers and frauds and all of the fakers and clowns on the internet, they're not saying her name anymore because there's nothing else to be gained from it. Yes, nothing but justice. If you can't wrap all of this up in enough time for them to be able to tweet it later today, they're not interested. But we're not here to run a sprint. We're here to run marathons. Shout out Nipsey Hussle. Yet more unfinished business. We're not just, quote, saying people's names when it is convenient. We are saying it because it is necessary, not because it is convenient. It has never been convenient to do what we do. It has never been convenient to do this. Never. It's not convenient now. That's why you see so few doing it. And if it wasn't for us, there wouldn't be anybody saying it here now. There's a reason why we exist. There's a reason why we exist, and I wanted to make a distinction tonight between us and all the rest of these clowns and fakers out here. That is a real problem. I want you to understand that is a real problem, because when you have when you have folks supporting things that do not help them, that's a suicidal tendency. We don't have a dog in the fight for any of this other stuff. We don't have a dog in the fight for them. We don't have a dog in the fight for LGBT. They are not oppressing us because you're gay. They're going after you because you're black. We don't have a dog in the fight for that. We don't have a dog in the fight for Ukraine. Some of their white supremacist tendencies notwithstanding, we don't have a dog in the fight for that. We don't have a dog in the fight for that. We're not here because it's stylish. We're not here because the news cameras showed up. The news cameras showed up because we're here. We didn't bail people out because there was a riot. We bailed people out because it needed to be done. We bailed them out because it needed to be done. And truth be told, we continue to do things like that behind the scenes now. I don't seek to get attention for it. These other folks wouldn't do it if there was no attention in it for them. And consequently, they don't do anything when there's no attention in it for them. Nobody gives a damn about the lives of black women except the dedicated black people. Except the dedicated black people. Because your fakers and frauds out here have made it already very clear what they care about. And if you attempt to cover for that, or you attempt to ignore that, that's going to be a mistake for you. That's a mistake for you, because understand, you can't tell when anything is going to happen. You don't know for certain when anything is going to occur. It can happen at any time to anyone. That's the problem. You exist in a system of white supremacy. It can happen at any time to anyone. But at the same time, we need to have an agenda, and the agenda is understanding who your damn spokespeople are, who is speaking for you. That's understanding having an agenda. Complete disregard for the lives of black women. Complete disregard. I'm talking tonight about the complete disregard for black women's lives. All the people who are posturing and posing, and now you can't find any of them. And the folks that they were trying to tell you were not concerned. By the way, we have silently held vigil all this time. As the rains fell and the clouds parted and the snows fell and the snow melted, and we're still here. And we're the only ones still saying her name. We're the only ones still doing it. not because it is popular, not because it is fashionable, not because we are being celebrated or heralded for it, but because this is who we are. We are the only ones who have regard for black women's lives, because they are the only women who are not protected in this system, but it is not because they're women. And that is where you commit treason when you attempt to say that we need to separate or honor black women separate from black men. We honor you because you are black, period. And when all the rest of these folk have left the room, and all the rest of them have moved on to something else, and all the rest of them have gotten as much mileage out of talking about you as they can, and they move on to breakfast cereal, or Gatorade, or an amusement park, or the next summer blockbuster, after all of them have left, the only thing that will still be standing here is us. We will be the only ones here still saying your name. We will be the only ones here who still have regard for you. We will be the only ones who will still be talking about you. Because we are the only people with whom you have permanent interests. Not temporary interests, permanent interests. We're not here for a news cycle. A news cycle didn't bring us here. And the lack of a news cycle isn't gonna send us away. We have been here. We will be here. That is important, but it's also important to remember the fakers who are not here and will not be here. They never were with us. They're not with us now. That's what's important to remember. We are going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. I want to thank everyone and thank all of you who have supported this program with your views, with your shares, with your likes, by the way. Make sure you like the program tonight. I want to say thank you to all of you who have done that. Thank you to all of you who've contributed either on PayPal or Cash App. Miss Houston, Miss Cordelia, Miss Shatu, Chadwick, and everybody else. Thank you for that as well. Eddie N., I see you back on the good foot. Thank you very much. But I'd like to thank all of you for staying as steadfast as we are. Make sure you like tonight's program. If you like tonight's program, hit the thumbs up in the chat, but especially hit the likes for me here, and make sure we share this, because brothers and sisters from around the world, we're all we got. To the folks who sit out here and try to play divide and conquer, if you want to know what's so criminal about that, you and your messed up daddy issues, the problem is that doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, we're all we got. And you might be on a suicide mission, but we're not trying to join you. At the end of the day, it's going to be you and me and us and we. As Malcolm X said, if you're going to live in a black neighborhood, and you will, because you can't live with the white folks, at the end of the day, you are going to be here. And it's going to be us. Because we're all we got. We're all we got. This is the Black Channel.
I am black first. I am empowered. I am on code. I am motivated. I am a proud foundational. My name is Naria Sellers, and nothing will come between us. Buy the sci-fi novel, Nothing Will Come Between Us. Order today at Amazon and Google Play. Visit spiritofo1811publishing.com. Our story, our family.
Join 6zeros.net, a forum built to discuss all things relevant to black people. On our form, a check doesn't mean you're famous. It means your blackness has been verified by our staff.
Sorry, Chad.
We also have premium merchandise with same-day shipping on most orders. And when you're ready for some dope content, check out the 0 Hour blog. Don't just sign up, post. I'm having a really good time with you tonight.
I'm having a good time with you too.
Want to go somewhere private? Just for us?
I like that.
Great. Meet me at 6zeros.net. Black owned, black operated.
Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose and author of the book Pressed But Not Crushed. Pressed But Not Crushed is an anthology of political poems that address current and historical issues in American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slaveries and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social depredation, and other relevant issues to American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issues.
The future of legal betting is finally here. Place a bet using CashApp with Bitcoin right over the phone. Unlike with traditional gambling sites, every bet you place with us, you're guaranteed a 50% probability of winning. All of our bets are one-on-one against a real person and never the house. We offer some of the most unique bets in the industry. Bets like, will LeBron James win his 5th NBA title? Will Joe Biden be elected for a second term? Will Tesla be worth $1 trillion by the end of 2022? You can even bet on if it will rain tomorrow. You can literally bet on any future event. Text the phrase I bet to the number on the screen, and I'll reply with a list of all our available bets.
Are you tired of being overcharged and forced into paying a monthly subscription for your Mac and Windows software? Well, if you are, currently we're having a 50% off discount on all the latest Mac and Windows software, such as AutoCAD, SolidWorks, Photoshop, Microsoft Office, and much more. Our 50% off discount will be ending soon, so be sure to text us Need Software to 323-407-8214. That's 323-407-8214. We aim to please, so expect 24/7 technical support, the latest premium software, instant software links delivered to your email, and PayPal's buyer's protection guarantee.
When you need a reliable influx of capital to grow your business, Spectre Capital Finance provides fast, individualized working capital loans with lines of credit to take your business to the next level. SpectreCapitalFinance.com.
This is The Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Very glad to be with you all here this evening. And we're talking tonight about who has complete disregard for the lives of black women. So many people are faking and posing and posturing about this. And it's been I've been watching it here as I've been addressing other things. It's been absolutely sickening. It's even more sickening when you have people who don't understand and don't see what happened. For those of you who are unaware here, on March 3rd, one of the hitmen involved in the murder of Breonna Taylor was acquitted, not for killing her. No, that would be too much like right. This was for wanton endangerment. The bullets that went through Breonna Taylor and went into the adjacent apartments, yeah, this was to clear them on those. So this was to make sure that this was absolutely whitewashed from top to bottom, to let you know that you have no sanctuary, to let you know that you're in a state of war. There is no sanctuary for you. That is all. And after all of the posturing from individuals talking about say her name, and I'm doing this program tonight because I wanted to remind you that It is in hours like this that we are the only ones who say her name. We are the only ones who remember, because we are the only ones who are sincere. We do not do this because there are cameras, news people, microphones, media attention, retweets to be gained. It's not the reason that we do this. On my page on Twitter, when I posted about it, it only got 170 retweets and 389 likes. There is no money to be made at this. There is no hay to be made at this. There aren't any big deals to be made. Nobody is sitting up here shining a spotlight on it. There's not going to be any major corporate media attention. The only people who are talking about this are the true believers, the people who actually care about it. That's it. Nobody else. At the end of the day, it's going to be just us, is the point I'm making. I wanted to have a very somber program tonight, a very sobering program tonight. At the end of the day, it's just going to be us. I'm going to go ahead and open up the telephone lines for you now. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. We can see about taking a few telephone calls. We can see about doing that. Because we're the only people who understand this. This isn't something that we do because it's popular. We do this because if we do not make sure that you remember, who will? If we don't make sure that you remember, who will? By the way, you don't see the old niggas saying anything either. Now, do you? You don't see any of them saying anything at all, do you? You don't see that happening. If you look around for them, by the way, don't worry, you won't get that. They're not going to do that at all. Think about that for a few moments. We're going to go ahead and get the telephone lines open here. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. Please keep your comments brief and to the point, or we will assist you in keeping them brief. Let me get caller from area code 419. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Joe calling from Toledo.
Joe from Toledo, what's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, Jason? Like I always say, you keep it 100. I just want to say first, before I say anything, Oprah tried to outdo you with the Breonna thing, but it didn't work. But the idiotic way of calling it the Breonna trial was, I'm going to keep it short, though, to charge up us. And when it was when he was found not guilty, they thought it was a way to try to ignite us. But because the awareness of the new black media, a lot of people are aware and did not go out and do anything. And I really believe that it's atrocious to ask against us, especially breaking Tamir, Breonna, Philando. It's gone to a level where the black media has got everybody on point, Jason. And thank you very much for pushing it. Be one.
Black first, brother. Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Let me get caller from area code 646. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Onan from Queens.
Onan from Queens. What's on your mind?
So I just think it's so crazy that so many black people are actually supporting Kamala Harris. You know, you have this black woman, well, this ostensibly black woman, depending on what agenda she's looking to push, you know, who claims that she celebrated Kwanzaa in her childhood, which is actually hilarious, you know, because the fact that she grew up in the 60s and had a Jamaican father, and she's trying to create all of these connections to the black community, and it's not working. And it's for people like you and Professor Black Truth for putting us on the up and up. So I got to thank you for that.
Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. And, certainly if you all want to know why being phony is not a victimless crime, Kamala Harris is your proof of why being phony is not a victimless crime. Caller from area code 601. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
What's up, Jason? This is Jeremiah from Jackson, Mississippi.
Jeremiah from Jackson, Mississippi. What's on your mind?
Man, the game messed up and we ain't got no friends. Because that's what it is right now, brothers and sisters. And you have done an excellent job of illustrating this. All of the real black media like yourself, Tariq, Professor Black Truth, Vicky, you got an excellent job of this. In this case after case after case, there's justice in this planet, but just not for us. That's all I got, brother. People want FBI all day.
Black first, brother. Thank you very much for giving us a call here today. Let me get caller from area code 757. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Jason. This is Eve from Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Eve from Virginia Beach. What's on your mind?
I just want to know why black people aren't angry. I feel like if we were angry, then we would act, and I feel like there's not enough angry people.
I couldn't agree more, especially in this environment. You couldn't possibly more outraged. But then again, like I say, there are only two types of black people: those who recognize that white supremacy exists and fight it, and those who recognize white supremacy exists and go back to picking the cotton the way it's always been. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get a call from area code 952. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from? Caller from area code 646. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Jason, this is George calling from the Bronx.
George from the Bronx. And what's on your mind?
Yeah, one thing I respect out of these Democrats is in their campaigning, they don't address black men at all. They completely sidestep us. But the real disrespectful part is they shout out black women, all the black girl magic, black woman this, black woman that, black women on the black or the backbone. But then you look at what, like, they're making offers to black women, or they're at least speaking about black women in their campaigning to the black community. But that's just, I just find it very disrespectful that they just completely just ignore them afterwards. Like, okay, like, at least you're not saying anything to us, but what are you doing for black women? The people who you're talking about, they didn't ask you to shout them out in your campaigning. So, like, I just find this, evil, disrespectful. The black women that they're putting in the forefront. You got Lori Lightfoot. You got people like Stacey Abrams. You got Keisha Bottoms. You got Letitia James. You got Kamala Harris.
Well, there's a difference between supporting and pandering. Those are two separate things. And black society, they come and pander. To other folks, they don't do that. They come and bring resources. They bring protections, not pandering. When they show up to us, it's, hey, they're sitting here dancing the Dougie and saying black girls rock. And then when the police shoot you up, it's like, oh, that kind of sucks for you, don't it? Thank you for giving us a call here. By the way, over a year later in office, over a year later, are any of the people responsible for brutalizing black people protected by the system? Has Joe Biden's White House gone after them? I can name some white supremacists that Joe Biden's White House tried to get off the hook. The McMichaels. Joe Biden stepped in an extraordinary step, and let's be very, very clear, that came from the top. In an extraordinary step, Joe Biden stepped in to make sure that they were protected. Joe Biden stepped in to intercede on part of white supremacists against black people. Now he has done that. But I can't find where Joe Biden has stepped in to prosecute white supremacists. Now, that I can't find. All these old cases, Eric Garner, You know the list. We can see where they said, yeah, nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. And they're not doing anything about Breonna Taylor or any of the others. Sandra Bland. Yeah, they love black women so much. Sandra Bland murdered in a Texas jail. And Kamala Harris shining up her Chuck Taylors so she can go hit the town with Zaddy. If you want to know why it is an act of base treason and betrayal to attack us, is because we're the only ones. We're the only ones who are going to remember your name. Calling from area code 571. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
How's it going, Jason? It's Sean from Alexandria, Virginia.
Sean from Alexandria, Virginia. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. But unfortunately, from what I see, especially with the pandering from the Democratic Party and stuff, it seems like in the gender divide, it seems like, a lot of black females go for that stuff,
Well, certainly the media puts a spotlight on that kind of thing. Here's the real issue. The real issue is, do you have an agenda where when they're not around, what are you talking about? Let's be very, very clear. The reason why we do what we do is because there needs to be a counterbalance to your engineered corporate media. Let's be very clear. If you let them tell it, black folks love Obama. If you let them tell it. But when you take a look at the polls, when you take a look at the election results, as I've shown, that's obviously not the case. That's obviously not the case. The real question is, where is the real conversation that reflects the results and the sentiments on the ground? Where is that? Please don't misunderstand what I do here and what I'm doing here tonight. I want everybody to be very, very clear. Please don't misunderstand it here. I'm not doing what I'm doing here tonight because we're losing. I'm doing it tonight because we're winning. I'm doing it tonight because the bad guys are on the ropes. I'm doing it tonight because this is what gives you all the support and the firepower that you need. I'm doing it tonight for that. Now, there are incubators of this kind of thing, and I want you all to understand that these folks have mastered the art of being very loud. They've mastered the art of being very loud. The LGBT community has mastered the art of being very loud on social media. So they go to places where they have a concentrated advantage and where they have an echo chamber that is highly favorable to them. And it gives the illusion that their principles, their thoughts hold sway. And then Jason Black shows up in Atlanta with a billboard that says, Keisha Bottoms, the issue is reparations or resign. And guess who's leaving office? Then we come booming in New York and do the same thing with Governor Cuomo. And guess who's leaving? And now in Chicago, Lori Lightfoot, who apparently has taken gender reassignment to a whole new level. For those of you who didn't know, Lori Lightfoot has literally taken the issue of gender assignment. She didn't take it to the next level. She took it to a whole new dimension. I expect to see her boldly standing in the men's bathroom at the urinal any day now. I expect to see her throwing elbows to get up in there any day now. That's the sign of being unhinged. You should be. Because some jackass set the thing off a couple years ago. Somebody came into town and set the thing off and made it where someone was openly talking against them. Openly. On the Dan Ryan. Openly doing that. So you can go march out your academics. They're the two places where they have a lot of echo chamber. The Corporate media and academia. And that's why they push so hard for that.
I do have a question.
Well, I'll let you ask your question in a moment. They push very hard in corporate media and academia because those are two very potent echo chambers. So if you can indoctrinate the young, they hope to win. Well, the problem is, their indoctrination works just fine right up until the police turn on the lights behind you. Right up until you try to go get a loan. Right up until you try to live it, and then it falls apart. So their numbers have been going down. They've always been going down. We just put a spotlight on it. So are there an issue of some loud activists and some activist wannabes? Absolutely. But make no mistake about it. We keep the spotlight on them just like we do on Bowling Ball Martin because we want everyone to be clear about who's winning, who's losing, and why. You can ask your question.
My question is, and we see how these echo chambers, no matter if they're illusion or not, how they can affect and bring about political change. You saw with the Asian hate, how that brought up about legislation behind it, or with the gays. How do we, as the grassroots, create our own echo chamber?
Okay, well let's be very, very clear now. There is no Asian echo chamber that caused that to occur. That's the first thing you gotta keep in mind. That wasn't the result of an echo chamber. That was the result of an organized socio-economic unit. Which is what Dr. Claude Anderson has been talking about now for over 4 decades, which is what I've been talking about now for over 2 decades. That was the result. That was not an echo chamber of people on Twitter. That wasn't a result of some folks. There was no marching, no protesting. None of the stuff that we gotta get out there and do. That didn't happen at all. That was the result of an organized socio-political economic bloc that did what it does. Now, if you do want to know what needs to happen here, being organized and on code, because here's the problem, and I've been saying this, okay, Blog Talk is making their contribution to the program. If you really want to know what it is that causes problems in that regard, it is because, for example, when you show up at these things or when people talk about these events, if you're not talking about it in the context or in light of a complete and total agenda, then it doesn't work. You see, I told you all for years now that you have 40 million. If I ask you what is the Latino agenda, you can tell me. Immigration, DACA. If I ask you what is the Jewish agenda, you can tell me. Fighting anti-Semitism, Israel. If I ask you what is the Asian agenda, you can tell me. When I ask you what is the black agenda, you have 40 million black people in this country. And if you ask that question, you will get 40 million different answers. If you ask that question, you get 40 million different answers. And there's the problem. That's the issue. When you do that and you get 40 million individual answers, that means you don't have an agenda. That's the problem. When you don't have an agenda, that is what occurs. When you're splintered and you're fractured, that's what occurs. The Asians, simply put, the Asians have an agenda. That's all. They have an agenda. When you ask, what do they want? You know the answer. You know exactly what it is that they want. Everybody knows that. When they show up at the Congress people, when they don't have to march, they're already out there. You know why? Because they set themselves up as an essential block. They got, when you have something called Chinatown, they've let you know we in here. They also have nation states that have been acting on their behalf. That's called having a socio-economic political bloc, and it is well organized. That's not Twitter space, which, by the way, I think Twitter space works for communicating, but do not mistake that. That's not the result of, quote unquote, the echo chamber. The echo chamber is the result of what they've already got in place. Peter Liang, what happened with him was not a result of the Asians trying to figure it out. That was a result of having a combined, concerted, organized agenda that was at work. And he was the beneficiary of that agenda. You see, the problem that we have today, and that's what we're really talking about now, the problem that we have now is that we have too many separate definitions of what black means. And by black, remember, I'm talking about black as a socio-political identity. We have too many definitions of what that means, and what we are doing is we're doing the work of consolidating what that is and consolidating what that means. Because it can't mean the same damn thing to everybody. I mean, it needs to mean the same thing to everybody, but the problem is it's been turned into this amorphous entity that in effect ends up meaning nothing. If it can mean the same thing to everybody, or if it can mean whatever anybody wants it to mean, then in effect it means nothing. That's the problem. And if it means nothing, then it's not going to be able to serve you because anybody else can step in and grab it and take it from you. That is the problem. It can't mean everything to everybody. It's got to be one thing for all of us. That's why when a Kamala Harris tries to come into the room and tell you that she's going to tell you what being black is, oh no, we sent her ass packing quickly. Not slowly, she got sent packing quickly. And she's been broadcasting live from the bottom of a Wheaties box ever since. She's scared to go out there in public. Let's be very, very clear. She don't want it. She doesn't know what to do. She doesn't want it and she doesn't know what to do. She's made that very, very clear. She don't want it. She has no idea what to do with it. None. I've warned you all, if you're expecting them to tell us that we're winning, you are going to be sorely mistaken. They are never going to sign. Joy Reid is never going to sign on and say that we're winning. You know why? Because she works for the other side. Roland Martin, another one, they're never going to come on and say that, although he's made it very, very clear that he feels damn vulnerable now, doesn't he? Now, there's a nigga that's let you know that he feels weak and powerless now, hasn't he? But just understand, when you see these other folk making those moves like that and accomplishing what they do, don't mistake it for don't mistake it for something else. They have been codified for a long damn time. There are not 16 million definitions of what it means to be Chinese, what it means, I'm going to say Oriental, even though they don't want you to say that for some strange reason. There's not 15 million definitions of that. There's not 15 million definitions of East Indian. There's not 15 million definitions of that. There's the one. There's just the one. And you fall in line with that or you fall out. And they make sure of that. The other thing is there are penalties at the grassroots level. That's another thing. There are penalties at the grassroots level if you are not on code. There are penalties there. You get held to task by the people if you are not on code. That's not something that shows up later. You're held to task then. That's a big ass difference. You get held to task by the people on the street out there. We are just now doing that, which is why these discussions about what it means to be black, these discussions about what is the black agenda, these discussions about do we support immigration, do we support LGBT, do we support climate change, that's why these are important. Because this is the first time that black people as a group, that you've had a critical mass of black people say no. Before now, you had a group of people who their answer to every damn thing was yes. This is the first time that you've had a critical mass of people who their response to these things is no. We're not going along. We are being dissident. We are being contrary. We are refusing. We are resisting. This is the first time that they've been able to look up and see that. You're seeing black people carrying out and enjoying their Second Amendment rights. You're seeing black people quoting these laws and saying about them. This is the first time they've had an opportunity to say something like that. This is the first time that you witness that. This is the first time that you've been able to see that work in unison. That's the difference between anything that you've seen before and what you see now. We have, up until this point, we haven't been doing the same thing as everybody else. Up until this point, we haven't been doing that. But it's slowly but surely getting together. I told you all a decade ago that I wanted you to recognize how it was going to work and when it was going to work. Once again, if you're expecting them to invite us on MSNBC and talk about, wow, you know, you really turned things around. Remember that time that you all stopped, when you all shut down Kamala Harris's campaign? If you're expecting that to happen, I'm just telling you, you're some kind of dumb. It's not going to occur. That's not the game they're playing. That's not what's going to happen. That's not what they're doing. They're in the business of creating the illusion that they are indestructible and invincible. They're in the business of creating the illusion that there's nothing you can do to stop them. They're in the business of creating the perception that they can't be stopped. That's what they're in the business of doing. And convincing you that there's nothing you can do about it. That everybody agrees with them. They're in the business of creating that illusion. We're in the business of breaking that illusion. When people ask me, what do you do? The most powerful thing that we can do at this point as black people is sit in a group and compare notes. That's the most powerful thing that we can do as black people. We can sit in a group and compare notes. We can sit and talk to each other and say, is that really what you think about that? You can start challenging ideas. Remember, it was verboten. It was forbidden to say anything against Obama a decade ago. Not anymore. When they thought they were going to skate in the second coming of Obama with Kamala Harris, it got derailed just that damn quick, just by us talking. The next movement is us being on code, because Asians never had a point in their history where they were all rounded up, divorced from their identity, and told that they were non-persons. Black people did. When we were released from the plantations, we were sent out with no central code of conduct, no central code of identity or purpose. That's what we're working on now. That's what we're working on now. Having that unified sense of purpose. That's what we're working on now. We don't need anybody to remind us. We already know. We don't need anybody to tell us who they are. We already know. I only gather you here so that we can remind ourselves, so that you all are aware, these people who are playing at this and whatnot, this part of having a code is recognizing when something is real and when it's phony. It's an election year. They're scared because now they have to galvanize people around their cause, and we will be right there to remind them that, by the way, you've had plenty of opportunity to do the things you said you were going to do. The black media said that you were going to protect the white supremacists, and damn sure you did. Just understand, every time we keep inviting this fight, they're gonna lose. Every time we invite this fight and they have to shuffle their feet and be bashful and hem and haw, every time this occurs, they lose. Every time. We're just setting them up now for the next loss. I want to thank everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program. Mark B., Richard Allen, Andrew L., and Miss Enoch, and everybody else who's contributed on PayPal or Cash App. Thank you very much for your support. If you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the Haven of Intelligent Black Thought. We do this every weekend. Over 136,000 subscribers and rising. We are not a little thing. Click that red subscribe button. Click that yellow notification bell. Join us every weekend. And if you haven't been to our website, blackchannelfilms.com, go there and check out our groundbreaking best-selling documentary work, 7 a.m. Gentrified Race War. All available on DVD, on streaming, and on Amazon at blackchannelfilms.com. That is blackchannelfilms.com. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and all my sisters from around the world, remember, black is the future, and the future is not forgotten.